and bienvenidos to Pica Poco Kitchen. Today we're making a banana ice cream banoffee cake with cajeta base. Vámonos! It was my husband's birthday and I wasn't here for that. But hold on, it was all talk too. Thanks to him and my friends, I was able to go to Vegas for a weekend and I went to see the Backstreet Boys, but most importantly, I went to see my friends who I haven't seen in around 7 years. And that was very nice. So to thank my husband and to celebrate him, I thought about making something nice for him. And I immediately went for banoffee pie, which he likes. Banoffee pie is one of the simplest no-bake pies there are. It's basically a base of some sort of caramel with fresh bananas, topped with whipped cream in a base of crumbled cookies. So I'm gonna make it more to his style because he loves banana pudding. So I'm gonna keep the elements of banana pudding into my banoffee pie. I'm gonna make it creamier by making banana ice cream instead of using the fresh bananas. And I'm gonna use vanilla wafers to make the crust. So, of course, we're talking about a 1970s English dessert by Nigel Mackenzie. It was born in Sussex, England, and I'm gonna give it a Mexican touch. By that, I'm gonna use cajeta instead of the caramel that is traditionally used, which is actually a form of dulce de leche. Cajeta, which I love and my husband loves too, it's, let's say, the funky cousin of dulce de leche. Cajeta is a traditional sweet from Mexico. It was born in Guanajuato, in Celaya to be specific, during the royalty period. So it goes back and it is amazing. And you need, if you don't know it yet, you need to get into it. So to understand cajeta, we can compare it with different caramels. Let's start with butter caramel, dulce de leche, and cajeta. Butter caramel is basically a simple caramel, sugar, and water, and the fat is added later in the shape of butter and cream. Dulce de leche, on the other hand, has the fat taken from cow's milk and sugar. It requires a long cooking process, same as cajeta. The only difference between dulce de leche and cajeta is the type of milk. Cajeta requires goat's milk, which gives it this complexity and funkiness. It also requires a long cooking time. So going in flavor profiles, the classic American butter caramel, it's gonna give you some roasty sugar. It's gonna give you that classic burnt sugar, and it's going to have a liquid consistency which makes it pourable. Dulce de leche, which is from Argentina and Chile and Uruguay, it's gonna have a creamier, smoother flavor and a spreadable consistency. Cajeta, on the other hand, even though it's also creamy, it hits you more on a earthy, kind of tangy flavor because of the goat's milk. That's what makes it my personal favorite. So we need to start with that. Let's make the cajeta and then we'll move on to the pie. Let's go. In a big pot, and that's gonna be important later, we're gonna start by adding our goat milk. I found mine at the regular supermarket. It is 946 mils, which is around 32 ounces. Is this one right here? And to that, we're gonna add 1 cup of sugar. And to prevent crystallization and neutralize the acidity of the goat milk, I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Before turning the heat on, I'm gonna make sure to mix well and make sure that all the sugar is dissolved. Once you're there, we're gonna turn the heat up to high. Visual cues are gonna be the key to success in this long process, so keep your eyes wide open. Little bubbles like this means that your milk is reaching simmering point. At this point, I want you to stick around because we're looking for big bubbles just like this. That means that your milk is reaching boiling. I'm speeding this clip up. This doesn't happen this fast, but it's for you to see how much these bubbles grow. That's why we need a big pot. Otherwise, the milk is gonna spill and that's gonna be a mess. This moment is when I like to add my flavoring. In my case, I always like a touch of vanilla, but it is optional. You can let it be, or you could even add a cinnamon stick if you prefer. And as soon as the big bubbles break, we're gonna turn the heat all the way down to low. Bring a chair, bring your iPad, watch Golden Girls or something because we're gonna be here for around 2 hours. During the first half hour, I'm gonna be mixing around every 10 minutes. And as you can see, it already has a golden color, but the texture is still very light. This is an hour later. At this point, my mixings have become more frequent, between 5 minutes or so. Also, bathroom breaks are over. At this point, you have to stick right next to your pot. Here we are at the hour and a half mark. As you can see, it's much darker and thicker. Still doesn't have the consistency that I'm looking for, but I was really tempted to stop right here. I'm glad I didn't. Now, depending on the amount of milk that you're using, you may take more time. Like I said, this is only an hour and a half, but I think I'm gonna wait just a little bit more and you'll see why. For higher quantities of milk, just don't go over 2 hours and a half. 15 minutes later, and my cajeta has the perfect consistency. So 1 hour and 45 minutes later, my cajeta is ready. The viscosity is so perfect that you can even see the clean trail left at the bottom of the pot. Let it cool down and store it in a jar in your fridge. It can last up to a month, but honestly, I think it will be over before that. Now let's move on to the pie. And first, I want to make the ice cream. Making banana ice cream is so beginner friendly that I cannot stop making it. Just a few frozen bananas, any other fruits, and you have the most creamy, wonderful, fast ice cream you'll ever have. In this case, since it's only bananas, I'm using 450 grams, which are around 3 to 4 bananas. I froze them when they were pretty ripe, so my ice cream is going to be very banana forward, very sweet. To increase the creaminess, even though it's optional, I'm adding a quarter of a cup of heavy cream. To prevent large crystals forming in my ice cream and a creamier texture, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of honey. And here you go, food processor ice cream, the easiest, creamiest, and more practical ice cream. And to keep with the banana pudding vibe, here I have a box of 340 grams of vanilla wafers, which I'm overfilling in my food processor for dramatic purposes only. Of course, I'm gonna go ahead and remove half of it and do it in 2 batches. Once they're very nice and powdery, I'm gonna add 1.5 sticks of melted butter. And after mixing well, I'm gonna transfer that into my 9-inch mold. Please remind me to get one of those very nice pie molds that are you can disassemble. I don't have one. I don't know why. I guess I don't make as many pies as I should. Anyway, using my spatula, other additients, and most usefully my hands, I am going to flatten this cookie crumble all in the bottom and the sides of my pie mold. While my pie crust sets in the freezer, I am going to whisk 1.5 cups of whipping cream and 3 tablespoons of powdered sugar. The pie crust is set and it's time to assemble. I'm gonna start with a nice thick enough layer of my wonderful cajeta. Check that spoonful. Ugh, I love cajeta. I really hope you make it because your life is gonna change once you try it. Since cajeta flavor is a little bit stronger than dulce de leche, I'm going to go just a little bit thinner than I would if I were using dulce de leche. But I will also be making sure that it's covering the entirety of the cookie crust, even the sides. And now the banana ice cream. In a regular banoffee cake, you will be adding your banana slices. And if you even want to make it more banana, of course, nobody's stopping you from adding banana slices on top of your banana ice cream. And now the whipping cream. Mine was enough to cover the whole pie in a decent layer. I'm not going for a high top because one, I'm gonna put it in my freezer and I have limited real estate in there. And also, I don't want it to be too overwhelming. I want the banana and the cajeta to be the stars. So I'm just gonna keep a decent layer. But if you want to make a higher top, of course, go ahead and make more. And to top it up, I am going to grate just a little bit of chocolate. On top, you can do shavings if you want to be fancier, but it's mostly for the looks. And there you go, an ice cream banoffee pie with cajeta base for your enjoyment. And here we have it, a beautiful banoffee cake. But most importantly, our jar of cajeta. I'm here for this. If I'm honest with you, this is what it's all about. I love cajeta. I used to be able to get it at my supermarket, but now I haven't seen it in a while. So every time somebody visits me, I ask them to get me at least a bottle or two of cajeta because it's to cry. I love it. It is just so rich. To me, there's just a little extra kick that you don't get in dulce de leche. And don't get me wrong, I love dulce de leche, especially from Argentina. But cajeta, has that tanginess, and that is because of the type of fat that you find in goat milk. Both cow and goat milk have the same amount of fat, but different kinds of fat. Goat milk has a more acidic fatty acids, which react in this way. Whichever way you go, they're both great, but I really hope you give it a try. Cajeta is the queen of spreads, at least in my opinion. Now, pie-wise, I think I'm gonna cut myself a slice to show you how it looks, and of course, to give it a try. I'll be back. Check this out. I was trying to cut myself a slice, and the whole pie came in, which means this is a wonderful crust. Take a look. That's gonna make it easier for me to cut. I'll be back again. Here it is. Cajeta, banana ice cream, whipped cream, cookie crumble, wonders. You probably want to take it out half an hour before you're gonna eat it, just to thaw it a little bit so your spoon can go through it. But let's give it a go. It is definitely different than the classic banoffee cake when you're expecting to get a soft, a creamy banana. but the flavor is there. Definitely the banana ice cream turned out great. If you want a good banana flavor ice cream, you have to use ripe bananas. But there you go, super simple. If you're not a baker and you want something sweet, go ahead and give it a try. So I really hope you enjoyed this recipe just like this video. And if you did, please share it with your friends, like, subscribe, and be notified. And for more, follow me on the socials. Adios, amigues.